All right, so first off, I want to say all praise to Yahweh in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. All right, double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops, the great millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as the prophets of doom. These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also, shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I am of that number. All right, so first off, this is the brother Yalad of MotB. All right, and we're coming back to the topic that we've been speaking of the past couple of videos. All right, speaking of Revelation 13, verses 16 and 17 in the MotB. All right, so before we get started, I want to get to this fair use disclaimer. All right, so copyright disclaimer under section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All rights and credit go directly to its rightful owners. No copyright infringement is intended. Okay. So now we got that out of the way. Let's go ahead and read these couple of verses again. All right, Revelation 13, verses 16 and 17. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. All right, we've spoken about who the he is. Right, it is Esau, Edom. We've talked about what this mark is. It is the MotB, or mark of the beast. It is the micro C-hip, or the RFID micro C-hip. All right. A couple of examples that we usually give on this channel is Walletmore, WALLETMOR, one word. And the next example that we give is Neuralink, or Elon Musk's brain technology. Okay. It's important to go and look at these technologies. All right, you can take note of the names surrounding this technology, but they can easily change the names and change the people surrounding this technology. All right, so it's go look at the technology itself. All right. So let's go ahead and get to this reading. All right, the past couple of videos we went into some more information, but this one we're going to go ahead and get straight to the point. All right, straight to the reading of this back and forth with Google AI. Okay. What we're going to speak about here is, for the most part, digital IDs. All right, and regardless of if these things are half-heartedly mandated or not, what we are pointing out here is the gradual bringing in of the micro C-hip. All right, so digital IDs could very well act as one of those steps. All right, whether it takes hold to the world or not. All right, they're still going to get something out of this. All right, they're still moving towards prophecy. All right, and this is what we're speaking about. Okay, so I had asked Google AI, all right, what are some top stories today on the topic of or surrounding digital identification? It says today, January 20th, which was a couple days ago when I asked this question. All right, I probably could go ahead and ask this question again right now, but we'll go ahead and run with this for a moment. Next time we bring this video up, the next time we bring this topic up, all right, we'll start from that day. Okay. So it says today, January 20th, 2026, major stories in digital identification focus on new biometric airport rollouts, significant policy shifts in the UK, and the global push for interoperable digital wallets. All right, so major headlines on the 20th was TSA expands touchless ID to Boston. It says the Transportation Security Administration, in partnership with Massport, officially launched TSA pre-check touchless ID at Boston Logan International Airport today, all right, being the 20th, okay? It says this facial recognition technology allows enrolled travelers to verify their identity without presenting physical documents or boarding passes. Another headline is UK formally drops mandatory worker digital IDs. It says following a significant policy U-turn, the UK government has officially scrapped plans to make digital identity documents mandatory for employment checks. The move comes after intense public and political backlash regarding privacy and civil liberties. All right, another headline, Ping Identity launches universal services. It says aimed at combating AI-driven fraud and impersonation, Ping Identity announced new services today that move beyond simple login authentication to continuous, real-time identity validation across all digital interactions. All right, another headline, Malaysian My Digital ID reaches a milestone. It says Malaysia's National Digital ID Initiative reported today that it has surpassed 8.7 million registrations, over halfway to its 15 million target for 2026, following a successful public awareness campaign. Okay, so now as far as ongoing global developments, EU Digital Identity Wallet deadline says member states are under pressure to offer at least one compliant EU digital identity, or EUDI, by late 2026, while nations like Austria and Italy are ahead. Others like the Netherlands and Bulgaria are reportedly lagging behind the mandate. All right, mobile driver's license, or MDL momentum. It says in the U.S., 19 states and Puerto Rico are now participating in MDL programs. New tools released today by developers like Regula, REGULA, are expanding the ability for private businesses to verify these digital credentials at scale. All right, another one, on-device AR identification. Technology firm OCR Studio announced plans today to demonstrate AI-based ID recognition for augmented reality, or AR glasses, at the upcoming MWC Barcelona, allowing for local, internet-free document verification. Okay, emerging trends for 2026. It says behavioral biometrics. Systems are shifting from static fingerprints to behavioral or behavioral traits such as typing speed and mouse movement to provide continuous identity assurance during active online banking sessions. Another emerging trend is deepfake defense. It says as synthetic identities become more sophisticated, organizations are increasingly making deepfake detection a key performance indicator for their security teams. Another emerging trend that says machine identity governance. With the rise of autonomous AI agents, 2026 is becoming a critical year for establishing frameworks that verify the identities of machine customers acting on behalf of humans. I just want to read all that verbatim and get it out there. We're going to hit some scriptures before we close this video out, of course, but listen to the gradualism, all right, how these things are going to be pushed, okay? So the next thing I typed in is if and only if, because you have to ask questions like this sometimes to AI, all right? If and only if a worldwide plan is to micro-CHIP everyone. Hold on, let me scroll down because I made a mistake and I remember messing up and hitting enter. So let me get down here to where, okay, this is what I put. If and only if there is a worldwide plan to implant every human with a micro-CHIP, is the world going in the right direction with these steps? Okay. So, of course, it's going to fight back a little bit, and then it's going to go ahead and answer. It says, as of January 20, 2026, there is no evidence of a worldwide plan to micro-CHIP every human. In fact, international and local governments are actively moving in the opposite direction by banning such mandates. We'll see how long that lasts, all right? Anyway, it says status of the micro-CHIP plan in 2026. Talks about government bans, talks about official denials, talks about voluntary tech only. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read all these, but we're going to get into some more questions that right now at this point in this back and forth, the AI is not considering, all right? I guess it's not really made to consider things. It just answers things on behalf of its programmers, basically. So again, status of the micro-CHIP plan in 2026. It says at least 14 U.S. states, including Washington, as of 2026, have passed laws specifically prohibiting employers or state agencies from mandating micro-CHIP implants for employees or citizens. That makes me think of a question. So let me go ahead and ask this now. Has any number of military personnel at any given time had a micro C-hip implant implanted in them due to a mandate or armed forces policy. We'll just ask that. All right, again, has any number of military personnel at any given time had a micro C-hip implanted in them due to a mandate or armed forces policy in the U.S.? I'll just ask that. It says no, there is no evidence or record of a U.S. military mandate requiring personnel to have micro C-hips implanted for identification or tracking. While some civilians get them voluntarily, and the military relies heavily on external micro C-hip technology and equipment, mandatory human implants haven't been a U.S. Armed Forces policy, with states even enacting laws to ban such forced employer implants. Okay. I was just curious about that. We'll see. All right. It says there's no evidence, but that doesn't mean that hasn't happened. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get back here. Okay, status of the micro C-hip plan in 2026. Official denials. The UN and various national governments have repeatedly confirmed that digital identification initiatives are strictly focused on software-based solutions, such as smartphone wallets, rather than physical implants. It says voluntary tech only. While firms like Neuralink are beginning high-volume production of brain-computer interfaces in 2026, these are medically targeted for patients with paralysis and are entirely voluntary medical procedures. All right, we're going to keep reading. So listen up, all right? So current direction of identity technology. The steps mentioned in today's news represent a shift towards decentralized and biometric-only verification, which many experts view as a safeguard against the invasive nature of physical implants. All right, privacy-first verification. It says initiatives like the EU Digital Identity Wallet and TSA Touchless ID utilize biometric data, which is like facial recognition or fingerprints. It says that is often stored locally on a user's own device rather than in a centralized database. Security is moving toward behavioral biometrics, like analyzing typing speed or gait, which is how you walk, all right, which require no physical hardware or implants to verify identity. Now, let me make sure, all right, let's define gait. G-A-I-T, all right, gait. Just to be sure.
Gait.
It says a person's manner of walking. Similar words are walk, step, stride, pace. All right, so it is the way a person walks. Okay. All right, let's get back into this. All right. So it says new global frameworks like the Universal Wallet Infrastructure, or UWI, focus on making existing digital wallets work together globally, reducing the need for any single master identification method. All right, concerns and safeguards. It says while these technologies avoid the physical invasion of a micro CHIP, they are not without debate. Critics and human rights groups point to function creep, where tools like facial recognition could be expanded into broader surveillance systems. Consequently, 2026 policy discussions are heavily focused on digital trust milestones and zero-knowledge biometrics to ensure that proving identity does not come at the cost of total surveillance. I have to remind you, all right, Ecclesiasticus 12:10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so does his wickedness. Or so does his wickedness. Let me be sure about that. All right. Okay, let's get it on this. All right, Ecclesiasticus 12:10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay. And let's do 16 and 17 also. Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verses 16 and 17. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. Okay, let me see something really quickly here. What does it mean to be undermined? Let's see. Okay, to be undermined means someone subtly or overtly, or overtly works to weaken your position, reputation, or success through secretive, manipulative actions like stealing credit, spreading rumors, withholding info, or downplaying your achievements, often stemming from their insecurity or jealousy, making you doubt yourself or appear less capable to others. It's a form of mistreatment that erodes confidence and hinders goals rather than overt bullying. All right. So let me get the first part of that again. All right. To be undermined means someone subtly or overtly works to weaken your position, reputation, or success through secretive, manipulative actions. All right. So keep that in mind also while we're reading these things. Okay. So now the next thing that I asked was, even considering this hypothetically, how many steps would a government have to take to implement a mandatory implant? All right. Now, now we get into the nitty gritty, okay? So it says, in a hypothetical scenario where a government sought to mandate subdermal microchip implants for its entire population, it would face a multi-stage process involving radical legislative, technological, and medical overhauls. As of January 2026, such a plan remains purely theoretical as global trends are actively moving towards smartphone-based digital IDs and biometric software rather than physical implants. Now you keep that in mind, and I'm gonna look something else up. Okay, let's look this up. Now I asked Google, all right, what did the head of Nokia say about phones being inside of people? It says the head of Nokia, specifically CEO Pekka Pekka Lundmark, Lundmark. All right. The head of Nokia, specifically CEO Pekka Lundmark, suggested in late 2023 that by 2030, advances in 6G could enable technology to become directly integrated with the human body, potentially leading to devices being inside people, sparking discussions about future human tech interaction, privacy, and ethics. This vision involves a future where connectivity moves beyond handheld devices, with technology becoming deeply embedded for enhanced experiences. Okay, and we also, let me get this key points of the statement. It says Future Vision 2030. Lundmark spoke about a future with 6G, and it just happened to be 6, huh? Where technology might move beyond wearables and into the human body. All right. Direct integration. He mentioned scenarios where devices could become could become part of us rather than just held in our hands. All right. These comments align with broader discussions about future connectivity and how humans will interact with technology as networks become faster and more pervasive. The idea has generated debate around privacy, security, and ethical implications of embedding technology with the human form. This vision contrasts with earlier Nokia leadership's focus on the burning platform memo, which highlighted the company's struggle with the changing smartphone market rather than futuristic human integration. Anyway, so why, when we ask Google AI, all right, that's why I mentioned that uh, they answer according to what their programmers, all right, told them to answer. Okay, why not just give facts instead of stating that things aren't widely accepted? All right, why do that? Okay, if I prompted to answer, is this widely accepted? Then okay. But if I'm asking a certain question, why not just give me the facts? Because it has to answer you in the way that its programmers wants it to answer. So I had to talk to this thing like that news I just read you, whether it be from the head of Nokia or WEF, okay? When they talk about the fourth industrial revolution, all right, they state the same thing, all right? So why do I have to ask Google? You know, these are this thing, all right? These AI interactions or the technology, okay? It comes from people that are high up, that are in the know. So how can we find these things that show you where the future is headed? And then when we ask these models, these AI models, all right, they act like it's a far-fetched idea or a conspiracy theory. Why is that? All right, it's because you are being, or they are trying to undermine, all right, the world. All right, and they're going to succeed, except for with the men, all right, the remnant and the elect, men, the women, and the children of the Most High. All right, the ones that were given to Yahweh Shai by Yahweh. All right, they're not going to fool us. Lord willing, I'm of that number. All right. So, again, let's start this over again. Even considering this hypothetically, how many steps would it take a government to? How many steps would a government have to take to implement a mandatory implant? Okay, so number one, it says legislative and legal overhaul. Let me just check this time really quick. All right, yeah, I am gonna cut it here, but Lord willing, we'll be right back, and we'll pick up where we where we stopped at here. Before we go, let's read some of this. Okay. So, speaking of being undermined and the world falling for it, but the world of the tabernacle of David, okay, is not going to fall for it. All right. The remnant and the elect. Okay. It's because the world has only human wisdom. To touch on that point again, just really quick before we close the video. All right. We have the mind of Yahweh Shai. All right. The Lord chose us to be able to see and understand. All right. He gave us ears to hear and eyes to see. Okay. So let's end this video with this right here. Okay. It says key Bible verses on human wisdom often contrast it with Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's wisdom, highlighting that worldly understanding can be foolishness compared to divine revelation, with prominent examples in 1 Corinthians 1:18 through 25, stating Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai destroys the wisdom of the wise, and 1 Corinthians 24:4 through 5, emphasizing faith shouldn't rest on human wisdom, but Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's power, while also pointing to true wisdom from above in James chapter 3, verse 17. Notes a verse about seeking Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai's guidance. Okay. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit before we close the video out. I hope this came through as sincere and edifying. And like I said, Lord willing, all right, we'll come right back to the point where we left off here, all right, in the next upcoming videos, okay? So I hope this came through as sincere and edifying. And with that, I want to say all praise to Yahweh in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to my elders, apostles, and the bishops of Great Millstone, otherwise known as GMS for short, but also known as the prophets of doom. These are where I have learned this truth and where I am still learning this truth. And also shalom to the remnant and the elect of Israel. Lord willing, I am of that number. And Lord willing, we'll see you in the next video. Shalom.